Doflamingo's resignation from the 7 warlords affects nations worldwide. After Doflamingo resigned as a warlord, islands across the world fell into chaos as they prepared to lose the support of his underworld businesses. At the new Marine headquarters, Brand New talked about the potential instability created by Doflamingo's resignation and Law's possible expulsion from the warlords of the sea, and Sakazuki responded that he had sent Fujitora to deal with Luffy and Law's alliance. Doflamingo called the Straw Hats and Law arranged to return Caesar Clown at 3 p.m. on Green Bit. During the call, Doflamingo hinted to Luffy that he had something that the Straw Hat would like to get. Afterwards, Law revealed that Caesar's return would be a cover for their planned destruction of the Smile Factory in Dressrosa, the location of which remained unknown. The Alliance then ate, and Kinemon revealed that his comrade Kanjuro had been captured while helping him leave Dressrosa to go after Momonosuke, and he wanted to rescue Kanjuro while in Dressrosa. The Donquixote pirates were lounging as the citizens were still in a panic over Doflamingo's abdication of his throne. Inside the palace, Doflamingo spoke to his 3 executives Treble, Pica, and Diamant, unveiling the Mera no Mi, which he entrusted to Diamant in order to lure Luffy into a trap in the Coliseum. The Straw Hats entered Dressrosa, an island with living toys. The Straw Hats and their allies made it to Dressrosa and disembarked as they went over the plan. Law, Usopp, and Robin planned to take Caesar to Green Bit, and Law gave the 1,000 Sunny protection team a Beaver card to get to Zoo, where his crew was. The protection team consisted of Nami, Chopper, Brook, Momonosuke, and Sanji, although Sanji had gone into town with the factory destruction and samurai rescue team. They gazed at the bustling streets, where humans coexisted alongside living toys. The team then went to a restaurant, and Sanji noted that everyone seemed calm despite Doflamingo's abdication. The team then spotted a blind man being swindled at a roulette wheel by some of the Donquixote pirates, and Luffy went to expose their deception. Pirates attacked Luffy, but the blind man responded by unleashing a crushing force that sent the pirates plummeting into a hole. The blind man then left the restaurant, and Luffy asked who he was, but the man responded that it was better for both their sakes that he doesn't answer. Soon afterwards, Zoro noticed that Shusui was missing as the citizens noted that the fairies had come to pickpocket some things. Unwilling to accept the loss of his sword, Zoro spotted it and chased after the fairy, and Sanji and Kinemon pursued him. Luffy chased after him as well, but Frankie held him back, having gotten the idea to get information about the Smile Factory. They interrogated one of the pirates that the blind man had attacked in the alley, but he claimed no knowledge of the factory's whereabouts. He said the higher-ranking members who knew would be gathered in the Coliseum today, as a tournament was being held with the Mera no Mi as the prize. People had come from all over the world to win it, but would have to face the Donquixote pirates Machvise, Dellinger, Leo G, and Senor Pink, as well as the hero of the Coliseum, Demop Insane. The duo approached the Coliseum, where they saw the one-legged toy Thunder Soldier being chased by police. The soldier went into the Coliseum, which authorities were barred from entering before. Luffy entered in the Coliseum, where he donned the nickname, Lucy, as he mingled with all the other gladiators. He was confronted by a man named Spartan, who thought he was a weakling and tried forcing him out. However, Luffy responded by flipping Spartan over and defeating him. The authorities nearly expelled Luffy afterwards, as Don Shinjo of the Shinjo family intervened, explaining that Luffy was acting in self-defense. Luffy then went to try on some armor, put on too much, and as he took it off, he met the pirate Cavendish. Luffy nearly revealed his real name to Cavendish, who revealed that he held a grudge against the members of the worst generation for stealing his fame. Luffy then looked at a statue of a gladiator named Kairos, and the gladiator Rebecca revealed that Kairos had supposedly gone 3,000 battles without being defeated, although no one knew who he was. She revealed that she intended to win the Mera no Mi and take down Doflamingo, and having taken a liking to Luffy, she wished for them to meet in the second round. Right then, the A-block battle finished after having just started, and the winner took off the paper bag on his head to reveal that he was Jesus Burgess. Issho Fujitora, the new admiral, is revealed. After the A-block battle, Frankie went to continue the mission to locate the Smile Factory, and Thunder Soldier tagged along with him. The blind man also departed from the Coliseum and was revealed to be the Marine Admiral Fujitora. Fujitora prepared to go to Greenbit, and also wanted to look into the amount of people on Dressrosa in case any innocents were injured. Inside the Coliseum, An undercover Marine listed the wanted pirates present to Vice Admiral Maynard, who was undercover as the contestant captain. Maynard was then approached by Gambia of the Bardo Club and easily took down the pirate, as the B-block battle was about to begin. However, Gambia's Captain Bartolomeo defeated Maynard as he headed for the arena. But also in B-block was the popular Bellamy, who had given Doflamingo a gold pillar and a declaration of loyalty, and winning this tournament would grant him officer status in the Donquixote Pirates. He first approached Luffy, having recognized him. Bellamy said that his goal was to join Doflamingo and that he no longer had enmity toward Luffy before walking away. The B-block battle then began, and the strategist Dagama formed an alliance to protect Elisabello I.E., the king of the Prodence Kingdom. As he was protected, Elisabello warmed up his king punch, a punch strong enough to blast through a fortress. Bellamy took on Tank Lepanto, the commander of Dressrosa's army, and the former bounty hunters Abdullah and Jeet, the fishman Hack, the long-legged Blue Gilly, and the mysterious fighter Ricky emerged as strong contenders as well. One man in the audience found Ricky's fighting style to be familiar, and as the fighting raged on and gladiators were sent falling into fighting fish-infested waters, Bartolomeo lay on the edge of the ring. As Luffy and Cavendish watched the battle, Chinjiao suddenly came up to them, exposing Luffy's real identity as he revealed that he had a grudge against Garp, which he wished to carry out on his descendants as well. Cavendish wished to kill Luffy as well, and the three got into a brief scuffle before Sai and Boo stopped their grandfather to prevent his disqualification. Cavendish wanted to continue attacking Luffy, but Luffy hid by hanging off a ledge. In the midst of this, Bartolomeo urinated off the side of the arena and was confronted by Hack. However, Hack broke his hand on a mysterious force and fell to the ground, defeated. Donaxagama and Blue Gilly then broke the formation around Elisabello as they betrayed the people in it, but Blue Gilly took down Dagama as well. Bellamy was struggling against Bartolomeo when Elisabello prepared to unleash his king punch, and he threw it, unleashing a monstrous force that was felt in the entire arena. As the dust settled, only Bartolomeo remained, having created a barrier to block the punch with the Bari Bari no Mi. Bartolomeo then crashed his barrier into Elisabello, defeating him and winning B-block. Afterwards, Bellamy spoke with Luffy while he was being carried away on a stretcher, and Bartolomeo overheard Bellamy saying Luffy's name, Green Bit. The exchange meeting comments is fighting fish compared to humans law. Robin, Usopp, and Caesar encounter a fighting fish while crossing the bridge. In a northeastern cafe, the Caesar return team looked at the bridge to Green Bit. Even though it was made of iron, the waters nearby were surrounded by fighting fish, and no one who had gone across the bridge recently had ever returned. Law planned to head to Green Bit regardless and expressed concern about the peaceful climate around the island, when Robin suddenly noticed agents of CPI, the strongest cipher pole agency, walking past. She said that nothing good happened when they were around. The team then ventured across the bridge, with Usopp, Robin, and Caesar defending against the fighting fish while Law saved his energy for the return journey. They then came to a chasm in the bridge, where they saw a fighting fish being caught in a net by an unseen group of people. They forced Caesar to fly them the rest of the way to Green Bit, and once they reached it, they noticed a marine ship that crashed into the island. Law had Robin and Usopp scout out the island's heavy forestation while he prepared to hand over Caesar to Doflamingo. Sanji caught up to Zoro as he was chasing the ferry when he noticed a beautiful woman named Violet dancing on stage. Zoro ran off while he was distracted, and as Sanji looked around, Violet suddenly came up to him and asked him to hold her. She kissed him as the police raced by looking for her, and Sanji was overcome with passion. Violet said that she was being chased for stabbing a man, and asked Sanji to accompany her to the next town and also to help her kill a Manas. They traveled. A sniper tried to shoot them, but Sanji flew up and defeated him. However, Violet later attacked Sanji as she revealed herself to be an assassin for the Donquixote Pirates. She prepared to look into Sanji's mind to find out the Straw Hat's purpose on Dressrosa, but was repulsed by his lecherous thoughts. Sanji stated that he knew Violet was telling the truth when she asked him to kill a man for her, believing that she did not really want to be with Doflamingo. Taken aback, Violet took down her crewmates with whale-shaped tears before telling Sanji to run. By letting him glimpse into her mind, she revealed that Doflamingo never resigned his warlord title or abdicated his throne, which CP had revealed to the citizens earlier. She told him to get his crew off the island, and Sanji contacted Law about Doflamingo's deception. However, it was too late, as Doflamingo, and a group of Marines led by Fujitora confronted Law on the coast of Greenbit. Robin and Usopp overheard an exchange between a group of Marines and an unseen people. The Marines refused to hand over their weapons and were stripped. Robin then caught one of the people with her hands, realizing they were most likely dwarves. She saw the dwarf she caught, Kaboo, but then the other dwarves knocked her and Usopp out with tranquilizer gas. They were split up. Robin woke up in the Tontata Kingdom, stitched to the ground with Leo's Nui Nuni, Know My Power, as the dwarves of the Tonatata tribe searched her. She claimed to mean no harm, and the dwarves instantly believed her due to their gullibility. Leo introduced her to their King Gancho, but told Robin they would need to take her weapons. Since she had no weapons, the dwarves prepared to strip her. But they were stopped by Flapper, who revealed that Robin was Usopp's friend. Greenbit, Confrontation, Doflamingo, and the Marines confronting Law and Caesar. Robin appeared to Law, having heard Sanji's call, and she planned to go to the port with Usopp. Across the world, people received the news correcting the report about Doflamingo. Law wondered how Doflamingo was able to do something like this, saying that only world nobles should have this ability, but he recalled what Virgo said on Punk Hazard about Doflamingo's past. Law refused to hand over Caesar, and Fujitora asked him about the Straw Hat. Law could keep his warlord status if they were his subordinates, but he stated that they were allies, causing Fujitora to revoke his status and send a meteor falling on him. Law, Doflamingo, and Fujitora protected themselves from the meteor, destroying the ground around them except their footholds as they prepared to battle. Meanwhile, Kinemon was confronted by some Donquixote pirates who recognized him. Elsewhere, Zoro caught up to the ferry and grabbed Shusui on top of a building but was flung off the roof and was hit by a falling millstone. However, he spotted and caught the fairy who had stolen his sword. The fairy was actually Wicca of the Tontata, who told him to take her to her commander on the Flower Hill. She revealed that she had seen the Donquixote pirates go to attack the Sunny. And Zoro initially raced toward the Sunny, but with no ability to get there, he was forced to go along with Wicca to the flower field. As he ran, he discovered that Doflamingo's crew had been keeping tabs on them the entire time. Inside the Coliseum corridor, Frankie found out that Thunder Soldier had been planning to destroy the Smile Factory as well with his comrades. However, the soldier's first mission was to rescue the people working in it, and he offered to tell Frankie about Dressrosa's history. The duo ran out of the Coliseum, and Rebecca spotted them as she yelled out to Thunder Soldier, saying she would win and that they would live together afterwards. As the C-block battle began in the Coliseum, Frankie contacted Sanji about their status. Sanji saw Luffy fighting in the Coliseum, and Violet gave him a map to the Smile Factory as her subordinates approached them before running off and agreeing to reunite at the Western Port. Kinemon then reunited with Sanji, asking him to take down the Donquixote pirates pursuing him. Sanji did so, and Kinemon asked him to accompany him to the toy house where Kanjuro was being held. As mentioned by Violet, the factory was located behind the toy house. Sanji decided to wait as Marines were crawling around the Coliseum. By Vice Admiral Bastille, they were waiting for the gladiators to come out. But to Bastille's surprise, not a single one from A or B block had done so. In the Corda Coliseum, Ricky refused treatment for his injuries when he encountered Rebecca, who encouraged him to have them treated. Ricky recognized Rebecca, silently apologizing to her. Elsewhere, Bellamy received a second chance to become a Donquixote pirates officer by assassinating Luffy, and Bartolomeo approached Cavendish, advising him to not go after Luffy. In the arena, the giant Hadrudin was a dominant force whilst Luffy had tamed the ferocious fighting bull, nicknaming it Yusi. Yusi ran into Hadrudin, who smashed it to the ground, but Luffy responded by jumping up and knocking out the giant with a single punch. The Chinjao family. The Long Arm Ideo, the bounty hunter Jean and Go, and the brothers Kelly and Bobby Funk also emerged as strong contenders, and Boo attacked the Funk brothers, only for Bobby to wear Kelly like a jacket using the latter's Jake no Mai and pummel Boo. However, Sai avenged his brother as he defeated the Funk brothers with his Hashokan technique. Meanwhile, Jean and Go stole Luffy's helmet while Chinjao charged at Luffy, and Jean stated that he was hunting everyone who had perpetrated the escape from level 6 of Impel Down 2 years ago. However, Chinjao stared Jean and Go down, allowing Luffy to reclaim his helmet before Chinjao headbutted Jean out of the ring. Loose and Chinjao then charged at each other, knocking out the clashing Sai and Ideo in the process, before meeting in a clash of Haoshoku Haki that knocked everyone else out of the ring. As Luffy and Shinjao fought, Shinjao began getting emotional as Luffy brought forth memories of his past. They traded blows, but Luffy managed to hit Shinjao with Hawk Rifle. Shinjao claimed that Luffy and the worst generation had no chance of conquering the new, and Luffy propelled himself into the air as Shinjao remembered his past. 30 years ago, he stashed large amounts of treasure in the jewel ice sheet, which could only be broken by his pointed head. One day he confronted Garp, who smashed his pointed head flat and rendered him unable to access his treasure, leaving him with his grudge against Garp. Shinja met Luffy in a final clash and Luffy hit him in the head, causing it to become pointed again. Shinjao was defeated and fell, and his head caused the ring to split in half. Luffy won the C-block battle, and Burgess recognized him. After the fight, Cavendish attacked Luffy while Bartolomeo cut the tongues of some people who were speaking ill of Luffy, as he had greatly admired the Straw Hat ever since seeing him at Logtown. Shinjao then approached Luffy, thanking him for restoring his head. Luffy ran when Shinjao's head broke the ground while bowing, and Rebecca pulled him away. As they headed off, Luffy ran into Burgess, who was speaking with Blackbeard, since Luffy told Blackbeard that he would win Ace's devil fruit before heading off to a food stand. Since he had no money, Rebecca bought lunch for Luffy and took him to the Gladiator's cell to hide. As they sat, Luffy was suddenly grabbed by the gladiators inside the cell, and Rebecca attacked him. Luffy overpowered her, but forgave her because she bought him food. He met the convict gladiators inside the cell, who were forced to fight one. Coliseum battles for standing up against Doflamingo. The fights had become more brutal and violent since Doflamingo took power, and as the Thunder Soldier aimed to take down Doflamingo, Rebecca wished to win the tournament and take down Doflamingo to protect the toy after he had protected her for so long. Rebecca then headed out for the D-block battle, remembering her past with the soldier. She had lived with her mother, but when the Donquixote pirates took over Dressrosa, they went into hiding and her mother was killed. The soldier brought Rebecca's mother to her and offered to protect her. Despite Rebecca initially refusing, the soldier stayed by her side as she grew up, getting a house for her, and even becoming wanted when saving her from being sold into slavery. He also taught her how to fight, and Rebecca now wished to repay him as she entered the ring to the sound of booing from the crowd, who hated her for being descended from the former king Riku Doldo. Cavendish silenced the crowd, telling them to get down and fight Rebecca themselves if they hated her. The D-block battle then began. Frankie and Thunder Soldier traveling through Dressrosa. Thunder Soldier reveals the truth about Dressrosa's toys to Frankie. In the Tontata Kingdom, Usopp and Robin ate with the dwarves, and Robin found out about Usopp's deception. The dwarves were overjoyed to have Usopp with them on the day they planned to take down Doflamingo, and asked Usopp to lead them on the front lines. In Dressrosa, Thunder Soldier told Frankie that humans and toys were segregated at night, and they saw a toy who claimed to be the boyfriend of a woman named Esta. The toy was diagnosed with human sickness and thrown into the scrap heap. Frankie and the soldier then met a toy dog named One Paco, who revealed that he was once a human named Milo, and the woman and boy he was playing with were his wife and son. The son said he had no father, and Thunder Soldier revealed to Frankie that all the toys were once humans who were transformed by a devil fruit user who came with him 10 years ago, causing them to be forgotten by the people of Dressrosa. The soldier said he would say more once he and Frankie reached the Flower Hill. Back in the Tontata Kingdom, Leo revealed to Usopp that the dwarves were going against Doflamingo to rescue their comrades, including their Princess Mancherry from captivity in the Smile Factory, which was located underneath the Coliseum. The Tontatas, Usopp, and Robin then headed for Dressrosa in an underground tunnel on insect and fox steeds. Gancho talked to Robin and Usopp, revealing that the history between the dwarves and Donquixote family actually went back 9 years. Frankie and Thunder Soldier arrived at a cave underneath the flower field, where Zoro was with some of the dwarves, who revealed that Usopp had come to lead them. Thunder Soldier went over the plan to depose Doflamingo, and Usopp looked for a chance to run away. Outside, Zoro and Wicca went to help the Sunny team when they ran into Sanji and Kinemon near the Coliseum. Zoro told the two what was happening, and Violet reappeared, revealing that the Sunny was under attack and heading for Green Bit. Sanjay went to rescue the Sunny, leaving Kinemon with the Viver card Violet gave him, and Zoro and Kinemon looked for a way to break into the Coliseum and rescue Luffy. Sanji rode toward Green Bit with Violet, who revealed the high marine presence around the coast of the island. In the Dressrosa Royal Palace, Gladius of the Donquixote pirates became enraged as he became more certain that Violet had betrayed them. On the Sunny, the protection team played with Momonosuke when they suddenly heard noises coming from inside the ship. An attacking party led by Giola of the Donquixote pirates attacked the ship to take it over and kidnap Momonosuke, and Giola turned the team into living art with the Etu no Mai. The team escaped the Sunny, which Giola turned into a piece of art as well. On Green Bit, Law was overwhelmed by Doflamingo and Fujitora and wondered why Nami was not answering the Den Moshi. The Sunny team tried attacking Giola, but she continued overwhelming them with her art powers. Chopper then picked up Law's call, and Law told them to head to Green Bit to retrieve Caesar. Doflamingo told him to hand over Caesar's heart, revealing that he had trapped Luffy in the Coliseum. On the Sunny, Brook acted like he was on Giola's side as the ship went to Green Bit, and Giola put the others in a mural to suffocate them. However, when Brook got Giola to restore his cane and violin, he defeated her in one cut and freed his crewmates. On Green Bit, Law was defeated, and Doflamingo took what he thought was Caesar's heart. The Warlord of the Sea then revealed to Law that royal families founded the world government and 19 of them moved to marry Gioi's years ago. The Donquixote family was one of the 19, and the Riku family took over Dressrosa afterwards. On the Sunny, the Straw Hats attacked Giola as they wondered why Law was giving Caesar back to them, and Giola revealed Doflamingo's deception to them. Law heard Nami striking Giola with a thunderbolt and revealed to Doflamingo that the heart he had was not Caesar's. In this confusion, Law teleported himself away, grabbed Caesar, and ran toward the bridge to Dressrosa, seeing the Sunny. He planned to throw Caesar there from the bridge and keep Doflamingo distracted while the Straw Hats escaped. However, the Sunny team cried out as they came under attack by fighting fish, and Doflamingo noticed them as he flew toward the Sunny, as he prepared to attack. However, he was met in midair by Sanji. Doflamingo quickly overpowered Sanji and immobilized him, but before he could deal the killing blow, Law used Shambles to teleport him away. Law brought Sanji and Caesar to the Sunny and told the Straw Hats to use his Vivre card to take Caesar to Zoo. The Sunny then came under attack by both Doflamingo and a floating marine battleship commanded by Fujitora, who threw a meteor at the Sunny. Law redirected the meteor back at the battleship, and Sanji noted that he seemed to be giving Doflamingo an unusual amount of attention when their main goal was just to destroy the Smile Factory. Law turned his attention to Doflamingo and told the Straw Hats to go where there were no clouds, as Doflamingo could not fly there with his Ituintuni ability. The Sunny then escaped with coup de burst, while Law took Giola hostage and confronted Doflamingo on the bridge. There, he said that he was ending the alliance with the Straw Hats, as his main goal was to bring Doflamingo down to avenge what happened 13 years ago. Law let Giola run off as he and Doflamingo started fighting again, and on Dressrosa, Violet headed for the palace, Corda Coliseum underground prison. The losers of the Corda Coliseum are imprisoned. Outside the Corda Coliseum, Zoro and Kinemon got Bartolimo to get Luffy to come see them. In the arena, Rebecca did well as she dodged attacks and made people fall out of the ring to eliminate them without attacking. Elsewhere, Sai was put on a table for his injuries to be treated, only to be sent into a pit filled with broken toys alongside the other losers from B&C blocks. There, Tank Lepanto wondered if Ricky was actually the former king of Dressrosa, Riku Doldo Utu, and Ricky confirmed this. The gladiators reflected on the increased conflict that happened after Doflamingo took power due to his underworld operations, even though the name of Riku was now reviled. In Flower Hill, the dwarves told the Straw Hats about how the Riku family liberated them after taking power years ago, only for Doflamingo to come back and restore the Donquixote family's subjugation. Thunder Soldier revealed that an incident 10 years ago caused the people of Dressrosa to lose King Riku's trust and revile his family, saying that he wished to protect Rebecca because he was her real father. Doflamingo took control of the former King Riku Doldo. 10 years ago, Dressrosa was poor but peaceful, and Monet had begun working as a maid in the palace. One night, Doflamingo came up to King Riku and claimed the throne, offering to let Doldo buy back his kingdom for bullion other than fight. Doldo decided to try collecting the money, although Doflamingo did not allow him to reveal his presence. The royal army went out to collect money from the citizens, and out of faith in their king, they gave all they had. However, Doflamingo took control of Doldo and some soldiers and forced them to attack their subjects, leaving them aghast at their king betraying their trust. Meanwhile, Monet let the Donquixote pirates into the palace, and they captured the princess, Viola, As Doldo continued attacking his people, Doflamingo, Treble, Pica, and Diamante came in and stopped him, as well as taking down the royal army. They claimed to be the saviors of Dressrosa and were welcomed by the people. Doldo survived due to Viola promising to serve Doflamingo in exchange, and she took the name Violet. Some of the army, such as Tank Lepanto, joined Doflamingo. The dwarves quickly learned the truth once they became subjugated again, and had decided to move against Doflamingo today as a result of their despair after Doflamingo's false abdication that morning. In the pit under the Coliseum, Sai was suddenly pulled up by Treble, where he was turned into a toy and forced to follow the Donquixote pirates' orders. This happened to all the gladiators except Chinjiao and Doldo, who no longer remembered the others. Up above, the convict gladiators told Luffy that although Dressrosa appeared prosperous and peaceful at first, further exploration of it revealed a dark side hidden away. Outside the Coliseum, Bastile's marines grew confused at the list of the criminals inside, as they no longer remembered who most of them were. On the bridge, Law continued fighting Doflamingo, who received a call from Diamante about Viola betraying them. Doflamingo told him to send the Coliseum fighters to the Smile Factory, leaving him solely responsible for the Coliseum. At the Coliseum, Luffy reunited with Zoro and Kinemon, and they called the rest of the crew. Frankie told everyone about the dwarves' plan, saying he could not leave them to lose against Doflamingo, and so Sanji decided to turn the Sunny team back to help the crew take down the Warlord of the Sea. At the coast, Fujitora headed for the town after hearing about a fight happening there. A ruckus rose near the Coliseum as Doflamingo and Law came into the town, with Doflamingo having overpowered Law. Doflamingo then shot Law 3 times with a gun, defeating him. Zoro and Kinemon charged at Doflamingo, but Zoro was met by Fujitora, who sent him falling into a hole. Doflamingo attacked Kinemon, and as the 2 swordsmen recovered, they discovered that the blind man they had met was an admiral. Doflamingo and Fujitora then flew back to the palace with Law and Tao. Operation Sop, the separate plans of the determined Zoro and Kinemon were pursued by Bastile's platoon, and as they ran, Zoro told Luffy to find a way out. Right then, the Sunny came under pursuit by the Big Mom pirates' ship, with Caesar revealing that they were looking for him because he owed Big Mom money. The Sunny team decided it might be a good idea to continue toward Zoo in order to keep Caesar and Momonosuke out of Doflamingo's hands, and leave the rest of the crew with the chance Law gave them to destroy the Smile Factory. Luffy agreed to this, and also allowed the Sunny team to strike back against the Big Mom pirates while he, Zoro, and Kinemon went to rescue Law and take down Doflamingo. Sabo confronts Bartolomeo and Luffy unites with his long-lost brother Sabo as this happened. Bellamy had approached Luffy to carry out his assassination mission, only to be confronted by Dellinger, who revealed that Doflamingo believed he would fail again and so ordered him to be killed. Dellinger severely injured Bellamy, but was stopped by Bartolomeo and forced to go with Lao Ji to the Smile Factory. Bartolomeo said he would not let a comrade die without helping, and Luffy came running and looking for an exit. Bellamy said there was none and wished to leave as well to meet with Doflamingo. Bartolomeo agreed to win the Mera Mera no Mi for Luffy, but a mysterious man said he could not let that happen as he approached the 3. Luffy recognized the man as his long-lost brother Sabo, who was now the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, and Sabo gave Luffy an escape route. Luffy cried non-stop as he, Zoro, and Kinemon headed for the palace in animal disguises, and inside the Coliseum, Sabo donned Luffy's Lucy disguise as he contacted Koala, who was also in the Revolutionaries, as she moved around Dressrosa's underground while he sought to win the Mera Mera. Nomi and inherit Ace's will. Thunder Soldier unveiled Operation Sop, a plan to destroy Doflamingo's underground port and remove the Donquixote pirates from power. First, however, they would need to knock out Sugar, the person who had been turning people into toys with the Hobi Hobi no Mai in order to free the toys and restore people's memories of them, which would unleash chaos across Dressrosa. Next, they headed to the port through an underground tunnel, and since Frankie could not fit through it, he decided to enter through the toy house and create a distraction. He took on the group led by Senior Pink at the East Door and blew in the entrance with Coup de Vent. Meanwhile, Usopp found out about the forces guarding the toy house as his group reached the underground port. Thunder Soldier then left for the palace in order to assassinate Doflamingo once Operation Sope was completed, leaving Usopp with the mission to knock out Sugar. The dwarves revealed that Sugar was being protected by Tribole in the executive tower in the center of the port, When some Donquixote pirates discovered Usopp as they confronted him, the dwarves stripped them before Leo and Rampo knocked them out, and Usopp and Robin donned disguises as they headed for the executive tower. In the Coliseum, 30 fighters were left in D block as pseudomen confronted Rebecca. Cavendish, Orlumbus, Damask, and Mummy also emerged as standouts. Suddenly, Cavendish fell asleep, and his alter ego Hakuba awakened. Hakuba struck down all the remaining fighters in an instant, and only Rebecca was able to dodge enough to be only slightly harmed. Hakuba fell asleep, and Rebecca got up, becoming the winner of D block. The audience protested Rebecca's victory as the final round now approached. Diamante was announced to be taking part in the final round, and Rebecca noticed that someone else was disguised as Lucy. The 4 contestants then headed back into the ring. Some D-block contestants raced in, angry at the results and wanting to challenge Rebecca again. However, Diamante stopped them with a piece of steel. He turned into a cape with the power of the Hira no Mai before hitting them with a bull-shaped glaive. The gladiators were then attacked by the special new fighting fish in the water, which could leap up to attack the people in the arena. On the back of one of the fish was a chest containing the Maramara no Mi, and the 5-person battle royale began. Diamante fight for the Maramara no Mai in the final round. Burgess unleashed a massive attack on a fighting fish in the audience when the fish with the Maramara no Mi popped up. Sabo leaped on its back, and Diamante attacked him, but Sabo shattered the executive's sword in 2. Burgess then prepared to attack Sabo, but Sabo countered his blow with his hand, and his fighting style made Diamante suspicious. Rebecca then attacked Diamante, but her blunt blade did nothing as he hit her with a mace. Sabo told Bartolomeu to protect Rebecca, and Diamante revealed to her that he was the one who killed her mother. Inside the throne room, Doflamingo had Doldo brought before him, boasting that the efforts to oppose him would be in vain as Law and the Straw Hats were in the process of faltering, unaware that anyone knew about his underground port or Sugar's location. Fujitora then came in, saying that while he would assist Doflamingo in opposing the Straw Hats in order to protect Dressrosa, he was not fully on the Warlord's side. Fujitora noted that Doflamingo's activities had been suspicious and revealed his intention to bring an end to the 7 warlords of the sea system. This caused Doflamingo to attack him, but the 2 quickly stopped fighting in order to attend to business. As he tries to get into the House of Toys, Sinopink gave Frankie a stiff challenge with his Suisui no Mi powers, although displayed many odd quirks. Moxie then attacked Frankie by increasing his weight and slamming into the ground, and Bastile's forces arrived to confront Frankie as well. Despite being overwhelmed, Frankie was committed to his task of taking down all his attackers, but despite his best efforts, he was defeated. Outside the palace, Wicca guided Luffy, Zoro, and Kinemon as they prepared to enter it, and Viola approached them to help them get in. Since they would draw suspicion by taking the lift, Viola guided them to a secret staircase. But rather than use that, the Straw Hats went up using the chamber's pulley. After going up, Viola prepared to take them to a secret rampart entrance, but Luffy punched through the main gate instead. The guards reported to Doflamingo about Luffy's intrusion, and the warlord was taken aback as he saw the disguised Sabo on the Coliseum feed. While they were inside, Luffy, Zoro, Kinemon, and Viola were quickly confronted by Pica, who had become a giant stone man with the power of the Ishi no Mai. By assimilating with the stone in the palace, Pica pulled the walls onto the intruders. Zoro stayed behind to confront Pica while Luffy and Viola went through the moving corridors, and Zoro could not find Pica's real body. Some of the Donquixote pirates went up to confront Frankie, and Thunder Soldier and Kabu sneaked into the lift they were on before the former attacked them with his sheer speed. However, Lao Ji was on the lift as well, and overpowered both the soldier and Kabu. He beat up Thunder Soldier the rest of the ride, and Kabu then led some dwarves to take on Lao Ji while he and Rampo took the soldier to the throne room. However, they were confronted by Gladius, who used the Pamu no Mi to rupture his forearms and injure the dwarves in the explosions. He then grabbed the soldier and was about to rupture him before being attacked by Luffy. And Luffy and Viola took the soldier away. Gladius attacked them with shrapnel, and Luffy burst out the window and pulled the 3 of them to the 2nd floor. Gladius then encountered Kinemon disguised as Doflamingo, and Kinemon discovered that Kanjuro had escaped from the scrap heap in the toy house. Luffy, Viola, and Thunder Soldier hid underneath the window of the throne room, where they heard Doflamingo interrogating Law about the Straw Hat's actions with the Tontata Dakiros. Thunder Soldier remembered his past life as the legendary gladiator Kairos. As a boy, he was a violent criminal who grew up in the slums, but King Riku gave him the opportunity to fight in the Coliseum for his freedom. Kairos stayed in the Coliseum and won thousands of matches without being defeated, even taking down fighters who came from afar. However, he was depressed that he would forever be seen as a killer. After defeating Doldo himself in the match, Doldo made Kairos commander of his army. As commander, Kairos saved the Princess Scarlet, Viola's older sister, from a pirate crew. She fell in love with him afterwards, having her death staged, so she could live with him. The two had Rebecca, but Kairos refused to touch her with his blood-stained hands. When Doflamingo took over Dressrosa, Kairos went to the royal palace to rescue King Riku, where sea-stone chains were wrapped around his leg. He cut his leg off to attack Doflamingo, but was turned into a toy by Sugar. He managed to escape with Doldo, but was left with no one remembering him as he watched his wife die and raised Rebecca as the Thunder Soldier. Back in the present, Gladius's group approached the soldier Luffy and Viola. In the port, Robin and Usopp watched as Sugar turned Cavendish into a toy and forced him to work with the other gladiators in the port. And Leo unveiled the tatabasco, the hottest spice in the world, which they planned to hide among Sugar's grapes in order to knock her out. Leo then went up to Sugar with the tatabasco, but when Robin saw Treble hit a fly with a fast and precise mucus shot, she held Leo back, saying that even he would have been caught by Treble. As the Tontatis comrades were being forced to work in the Smile Factory under the lie that they were finding a cure for Mancherry, Robin went up to Treble, claiming that there was a problem with a crew at the port in order to lead him away from the tower. When Treble was gone, the dwarves confronted Sugar and prepared to forcibly knock her out. But Sugar turned all of the attacking dwarves into toy bears, forcing them to attack their comrades who no longer remembered them. She then told Treble that she was under attack, and after briefly checking on Robin's problem, Treble attacked Robin and tried trapping her in mucus with the Beta Beta no Mai, although found out that the Robin who went with him was a clone. He then responded to Sugar's distress by throwing a ship at the executive tower. Treble caught the Tontatas and learned about their plan, and he attacked them by lighting the mucus they were stuck to. Usopp went to Leo and told him to run away, but Leo replied that the soldier would definitely defeat Doflamingo if they accomplished this. He had faith in the soldier, as he was the only toy not under Sugar's contract and was formerly the legendary Kairos. However, the dwarves were decimated by Treble, and Robin was turned into a toy by Sugar after trying to attack her, and Usopp decided to run away rather than confront the Donquixote pirates alone. However, he overheard the dwarves calling out his name as they told Treble that he would come to rescue them, and Treble mocked them as he started stepping on them. Usopp came back, confessing to the dwarves his true identity and saying he was no hero, but would become this now as he shot Treble with a pop-green shuriken. After a brief battle, Usopp was defeated and Sugar decided to torture him by feeding him the tatabasco. However, the tatabasco caused Usopp to make a terrible expression which frightened Sugar so much that she fell unconscious. With Sugar knocked out, the toys around Dressrosa returned to their human forms, and the people's memories of the toys returned, causing Dressrosa to fall into chaos. In the underground port, the dwarves celebrated Usopp's actions, and in the palace, Thunder Soldier transformed back into Kairos. In the Coliseum, as chaos erupted in the audience, Rebecca remembered that she had a father as Sabo decided to end the match, using Risoken to shatter the arena. He then leaped up to the fish carrying the Mera Mera no Mi and ate the fruit, tossing before grabbing Rebecca and using Heiken to punch through the bottom of the Coliseum. Hadrudin grabbed Usopp and held him up before the other freed toys, who rejoiced in their savior as the ceiling gave in and the Coliseum fighters fell in. Demonte found himself under attack by the freed toys, while Rebecca and Bartolomeo discovered Sabo's true identity as Sabo reunited with Koala and Hack. They revealed that they had come to find and stop Doflamingo's underworld weapons trade for the Revolutionary Army. Diamante and Treble worked together to stop the freed toys from attacking the Smile Factory, and Robin reunited with the revolutionaries as Kinemon escaped down to the underground port and reunited with his allies. In the palace, Pica abandoned his fight with Zoro. In the throne room, after returning to his human form, Kairos charged at Doflamingo as Doldo and Viola regained their memories of him. Kairos then decapitated Doflamingo as Luffy raced in to rescue Law. as Kairos took out several of Doflamingo's men, including Buffalo and freed Doldo. Luffy worked to free Law from his sea stone handcuffs. However, Pica then arrived, and Doflamingo was revealed to still be alive as he stated that he would have to use the birdcage. As Kairos attacked him, the real Doflamingo swooped in to kill him, but Luffy pulled him out of harm's way. Luffy fought the two Doflamingos but was overpowered, with the decapitated Doflamingo being revealed to be a string clone. On Doflamingo's command, Pica forced Luffy, Law, Kairos, Viola, and Doldo outside as Doflamingo's string clone transformed into a cage of strings that surrounded the entire island. With the birdcage surrounding the island, no one could get out. Communications to the outside world were cut off, and Doflamingo took control of some people and caused them to attack others, making the citizens realize that Doflamingo framed King Riku and that they have been manipulated for an entire decade. Pica then changed the layout of the island, placing the palace on top of Flower Hill and bringing the Smile Factory above ground. Doflamingo then proclaimed to his citizens that he had a game for them. They could either kill him or bring in his enemies for a monetary reward. He put bounties on the Straw Hats, Law, Kimim, Kairos, Doldo, Viola, Rebecca, and Sabo, with Usopp's being the highest at freed toys that had just paid gratitude to Usopp immediately began chasing him and his comrades, and Kinneyman leaped into the scrap heap to find Kanjuro. Usopp's group went up to the surface and contacted Luffy's group, who was on the King's Plateau where the palace once was. Tyros had already left to go after Doflamingo, and Luffy promised to Rebecca to take down Doflamingo. Law warned that this would bring down Kaido's wrath upon them, but Luffy replied that they needed to help Dressrosa as he took Law and Zoro and jumped off the plateau. The Marines worked to protect the people of Dressrosa as the freed gladiators emerged from below the Coliseum, including Maynard. Maynard reported to Fujitora about Doflamingo's illegal dealings, but Fujitora questioned the world government's role in dealing with this. So on top of the palace, the Donquixote tyrants met to discuss their situation, with Doflamingo being confident that they would dispose of everyone in their way. Pica offered to dispose of them himself, and one of the pirates laughed, causing him to be shot by Baby before Pica could become enraged. Doflamingo warned his lower-ranking crew to not make fun of the officers, whom he considered his family. Afterwards, Senor Pink Mockvis and Dellinger returned to the place where they fought Frankie, only to find out he escaped. As Frankie ran discreetly toward the Smile Factory, Luffy, Zoro, and Law landed in front of the three Donquixote officers. Senior Pink, Machise, and Dellinger were joined by some citizens as they attacked Luffy, Zoro, and Law, but the latter three managed to avoid the attacks and ran off, though only to be confronted by Fujitora. Zoro briefly clashed with the Admiral, but they were soon interrupted by Pica, who had become a massive stone behemoth. Luffy laughed profusely at Pica's voice, causing the executive to punch him with his massive stone fist. The punch shook the ground and sent Luffy, Zoro, and Law flying all the way to the Coliseum. There, they encountered Cavendish, who had put aside his hatred of Luffy and wanted to defeat Doflamingo. Cavendish was soon joined by the Chinjio family, Hadruddin, Elisabello, Dagama, Abdullah, Jeet, Orlumbus, Ideo, Suleiman, and Blue Gilly, and they all wanted to take down Doflamingo themselves, causing an argument to break out. However, when some other gladiators came to capture Luffy, Zoro, and Law, the group quickly came together to beat them off. Luffy then reunited with Yusi and led the charge to the palace despite everyone continuing to argue over Doflamingo. Pica and his subordinates saw them coming, and Pica tried attacking them again, only to have his stone arm shattered by Chinjio and Elisabello. Pica quickly regrew his arm and attacked again, but Luffy managed to ride Yusi onto his other arm, with Abdullah and Jeet having joined him, Zoro and Law on the bull's back. Pica prepared to attack them, but Luffy shattered his head with a Gear 3 punch. Pica's real body then emerged in front of the bull riders, and he tried attacking them with a giant sword, but Luffy helped Yusi dodge it and Zoro confronted Pica, allowing the others to continue toward Doflamingo. Since Pica's stone body was no longer inhabited, the other gladiators went after Luffy. And as they drew closer to the palace, Law revealed to Luffy that he wanted to take down Doflamingo to avenge an important person to him called Corazon, who was Doflamingo's real brother but was killed by him 13 years ago. In the streets below, Kairos moved past the citizens who were trying to capture him. Meanwhile, Usopp, Robin, Rebecca, Bartolomeo, Hack, and the Tontatas ran away from the citizens through the Coliseum stands, and Hack noticed that Sabo had run off. They managed to get to safety on the King's Plateau where they encountered Doldo, Viola, and Tank Lepanto. Viola revealed that she had the key to Law's Seastone handcuffs, and Doldo was initially wary about trusting pirates to help them, but Viola assured him that Luffy's intentions were genuine. Rebecca offered to take the key to Law, and Leo offered to help her get to the palace by going across rooftops with him and Kabu accompanying her. Frankie prepared to blow open the entrance to the Smile Factory, but was attacked by Senor Pink, who came to settle the score between them. As they fought, the Tontatas arrived and worked to find a way to get into the factory. Bayan used her pink bees to fly over the roof, and after getting the enslaved dwarves' attention, she revealed to them that the Donquixote pirates had been lying to them about man-sharing. Leaving their comrades, the dwarves began attacking their overseers. Led by Mancheri's aide Mauji, they broke into the room labeled as Mancheri's, but found it was only a storage room. They then went to open the main doors, and Frankie distracted Senior Pink by saying there was an old woman in danger, allowing him and the Tontatas to get in the factory. The factory manager, Kiwin, arrived to attack the dwarves with her vacuum cleaner but was stopped when Frankie hugged her. Senior Pink then returned after discovering Frankie's deception, and Frankie suplexed Kiwin into him. This made Kiwin angry, but Frankie silenced her by kissing her, making her flustered. Senior Pink agreed with Frankie's course of action, and Kiwin and Pink's entourage swooned over the men as they resumed their battle. Gladius, Dellinger, Machvis, Leo G, and Baby went up to the New King's Plateau, where they watched in shock as Luffy, Law, and the gladiators beat back the Donkey Goat soldiers and reached the first level of the plateau. And below, Fujitora and his troops were stopped from pursuing the gladiators by Sabo, who confronted them to protect Luffy. Sabo overwhelmed the Marines as he destroyed their weapons by flexing his fingers, and he did the same to Bastille's sword and mask, defeating the Vice Admiral. Fujitora brought down a meteor, but it was sliced and scattered by the birdcage. Sabo revealed his relationship to Luffy, and he and Fujitora clashed. The two fought ferociously, and Sabo asked how long Fujitora would waste time fighting him. The Admiral replied that he had decided to bet his life on this course of action. Gladiators caught up to Luffy and his entourage by climbing the cliff of the plateau, and the Funk brothers approached Luffy, offering him a shortcut to the flower field on the 4th level of the plateau. Luffy and Law headed into a tunnel, knocking Abdullah and Jeet off, and the latter duo discovered that the Funk brothers had led them into a trap before Doflamingo arrived and took out the brothers. Luffy and Law received a call from Robin to let them know that she, Bartolomeo, and Rebecca would be going to give Law the key to his handcuffs. However, the tunnel led to a dead end, and Luffy, Law, and Yusi were trapped in a pool of water as they were confronted by Doflamingo. Doflamingo mocked their weak state and shot at Yusi with string, but before he could attack further, he was attacked by Abdullah and Jeet. They then discovered that Doflamingo was a string clone, and Abdullah and Jeet told Luffy and Law what happened. As Kairos made his way up to level 1, Luffy punched through the tunnel ceiling, allowing him and Law to jump up to where the gladiators were while Abdullah and Jeet took care of Yusi. It's on the King's Plateau. Leo brought out the yellow Kaboo beetles, which would slow down Robin's, Rebecca's, and Bartolomeo's falls and allow them to jump across rooftops until they reached the flower field. They reached the Pica statue, where Zoro was still fighting the Donquixote executive. Pica inhabited his statue again in order to attack the trio, but Zoro stopped him by cutting it in half. Pica resumed fighting Zoro as the yellow Kabu group drew closer to the flower field, and Leo received a call from Moji, who revealed that Mancheri was not in the factory and suggested that she might be in the palace. On the plateau, Cavendish approached Luffy and Law, saying that he had a plan. Luffy and Law rode with Cavendish on his horse feral to reach the 3rd level, and Kairos rode with them. Luffy revealed that they were going to meet Rebecca, and Kairos stated that he wanted to kill Diamante to avenge his wife. Meanwhile, the Donquixote pirate officers confronted and overpowered the other gladiators. But as Farrell rode into the battleground, the gladiators cleared a path for Luffy and his entourage to get to the next level, promising to keep the Donquixote officers at bay. Although Dellinger took out Suleiman Dagama and Blue Gilly, the gladiators continued the fight, and Cavendish stated that there would be no way to get off the island except by beating Doflamingo. As they reached level 3, however, they were confronted by giant nutcrackers. In the scrap heap, Kinemon reunited with Kanjuro, who had hidden inside the wall as a drawing with his hued no my power and drew food to feed himself. Kanjuro drew a bird to fly them out, although the drawing was so pitiful that it could barely fly. The other prisoners in the scrap heap asked Kanjuro to help free them as well, and Kanjuro complied, drawing ladders for them to climb up to the surface. In the town, the citizens found the location of Usopp and Doldo, and went to capture them in hopes of ending Doflamingo's game. Usopp saw the mob heading for them, and after hearing about Moji's discovery, Viola looked around the palace for Mancherry, who was being held in a small cell somewhere. Kinemon and Kanjuro then made it to the King's Plateau, and to Usopp's horror, Kanjuro revealed that he had drawn a net for the mob to climb up. Viola found Mancherry and told Leo where she was as his group reached the 3rd level of the plateau. However, Gladius attacked the group with exploding balls, causing Robin and Bartolio to fall. As she tangled with Gladius, Robin told Rebecca to go onto the flower field. Viola then saw the Nutcrackers attacking Luffy's group and discovered that Sugar had been revived. Sugar decided to go out and turn Doflamingo's enemies into toys again, starting with Luffy and Law. One of the Nutcrackers bit Farrell's head, incapacitating him, and the massive toys put themselves back together despite Luffy's and Cavendish's attacks. Robin, Bartolomeo, and Gladius then fell onto the scene, and Bartolomeo told Luffy's group to go on ahead to Rebecca. He created a staircase for them to get to the flower field, and Cavendish stayed behind in order to take down the Nutcrackers and avenge Ferrul. Bartolomeo shielded Luffy, Law, and Kairos from Gladius' attacks with his own body, and Robin confronted Gladius to protect her captain. Rebecca, Leo, and Kaboo made it to the flower field, and as the dwarves went to save Mancherry, Rebecca found herself confronted by Diamante. Not wanting to fight, Rebecca ran away, but Diamante cut her and prepared to shoot her just like he did to Scarlet. Right then, Kairos came and attacked Diamante, telling Rebecca that she would no longer have to fight. Luffy and Law then came to get the key to Law's handcuffs, and once Law was freed, he used his powers to cut apart the Nutcracker chasing them. Luffy and Law headed for the palace, and Diamante tried to stop them, but Law teleported them inside. The Donquixote pirates quickly spotted the duo in the palace, and Sugar went to turn them into toys. Luffy and Law did not know who she was as she approached them, and on the King's Plateau, Usopp moved quickly to stop Sugar. He had Kanjuro draw him an effigy of the face he made to knock out Sugar the first time, and Doldo, Lepanto, and Hack went to slow down the mob heading for him. Usopp aimed with the help of Viola's sight, and he suddenly became able to see people's auras inside the palace. He fired a shot right as the mob caught him, and it successfully passed in front of Sugar and scared her into unconsciousness again before she could turn Luffy and Law into toys again. This also turned the Nutcrackers back into their original bodies, with each one having been made from 8 Donquixote soldiers. After catching Usopp's group, the mob revealed that they had no intention of bringing them in to Doflamingo, as they knew he had deceived them before when he took over Dressrosa, and they placed their trust into King Rikyū once again. In the streets below, Fujitora departed from his fight with Sabo, and Koala berated Sabo for getting involved in the conflict. Sabo remembered how Fujitora was not leaving it to the Marines to stop Doflamingo. And on the King's Plateau, Doldo told the citizens to place their hopes on Luffy and his crew to take down Doflamingo as Fujitora came up to make the same bet. Elsewhere, Maynard was shocked to hear what Fujitora did as he and his troops were busy helping the citizens suffering from Doflamingo's attacks. On top of the palace, Doflamingo reminisced to Treble about when he first met Law, recalling how Law wanted to join his crew as a child because he wanted to destroy everything before he himself died soon. Bellamy then came to Doflamingo, wanting to know why Dellinger had been sent to kill him. Doflamingo replied that the two of them had always had different goals, and he took down Bellamy before being confronted by Luffy and Law. Luffy got mad at what Doflamingo did to Bellamy and attacked the Warlord, but Doflamingo used Bellamy as a human shield. Doflamingo then attacked Law with a string clone while he took control of Bellamy and forced him to attack Luffy. Luffy refused to attack Bellamy, and to his opponent's confusion, he charged toward Law instead. Law then used Shambles to switch places with Doflamingo, causing Luffy to hit Doflamingo with Red Hawk while Law cut Treble into pieces. Treble was left unable to reattach himself for a while, although Doflamingo was still up on his feet and stopped Law from attacking his subordinate. He and Bellamy then overpowered Luffy and Law, and Doflamingo stated that he did not have the time to deal with this, as his desire was to destroy the world ruled by the world nobles out of anger for his father relinquishing his family's status and causing him to see hell. Doflamingo's clone then sent Luffy and Bellamy inside the palace, leaving Doflamingo alone with Law. Law wondered how Doflamingo used his world noble status to fake his resignation despite no longer being a world noble. And Doflamingo revealed that he knew about the existence of a national treasure on Mary Geoise that gave him leveraging power over them. He stated that with Law's Ope no my powers, he could have had a surgery performed on him that would allow him to live forever and use the treasure to take over the world, but angrily stated that Law had gone against him despite everything he gave to him. However, Law replied that it was Corazon who made him into the person he was today. A terminally ill Law lost everything when his hometown Flevence was destroyed, 16 years ago. In the North Blue, Law, Buffalo, and Baby had joined the Donquixote pirates as children, despite the crew's toughness, and Law looked forward to killing before he died in a little over 2 years. He then encountered Corazon, whom Diamante and Treball stated to be mute, clumsy, and a kid-hater as he grabbed Law and threw him out the window. Law made it back to the building, where the crew was eating. They noticed that he had amber lead syndrome that had infected his hometown Flevence, and Law revealed that he had escaped by hiding in a mass of corpses. He swore revenge on Corazon, but Baby reminded him that attacking the executive would cause Doflamingo to unleash retribution. Afterwards, as they were pillaging a town, Baby asked Gladius and Lao Ji about Flevence. They revealed that Flevence had become prosperous 1 year ago by mining amber lead, but the world government failed to reveal to them that it was poisonous on contact. Each progressive generation's lifespan grew shorter, and when symptoms of the syndrome appeared, Flevence was cut off from the outside world. The world government allowed children Law's age to flee the island, but this was only a ruse as the people of Flevence were all exterminated. Law had broken off from his group to check on his family, only to discover that his parents were shot and his sister Lamy was still in his family's hospital that the government burned down. Law had joined the Donquixote pirates with no reason left to live, and he went ahead with getting revenge on Corazon as he stabbed the executive in the back. He was spotted by Buffalo, but bribed him with ice cream to be silent. Meanwhile, Doflamingo had a nightmare about him, Corazon, and their father Don Quixote Homing being persecuted by a mob for being world nobles. 17 years before this time, and 33 years before the present day, Homing had decided for his family to leave Mary Geoise and live as commoners. However, in Stubby Stingray and Summer-old Doflamingo did not understand his new position and treated the commoners like he was still a noble, causing them to realize what his family was and persecute them. The Donquixote family's mansion was burned down, and they were forced to live in a shack and scavenge for food as they hid from the townspeople. Doflamingo's mother died to sickness, and the townspeople eventually caught Doflamingo, Corazon, and Homing. Doflamingo woke up from his nightmare and received a call. He had Law brought to him, and Law thought Corazon had told Doflamingo what had happened, but Doflamingo instead told Law that he was becoming an official member of the Donquixote pirates. Later, Corazon lied to Doflamingo that an enemy had wounded him, which surprised Law. A year passed, and the Donquixote pirates moved around the North Blue as Law grew stronger through training and raids. One day, he was talking to Buffalo and Baby U and revealed that his real name was Trafalgar D. Waterlaw. Corazon then came and dragged him into an alley where he spoke to Law and told him that if he was a D, he needed to get away from Doflamingo. He used his Neji Naji no Mai abilities to prevent people from overhearing them and revealed to Law that much of his personality was an act, and that he had joined the Donquixote pirates to stop Doflamingo. He believed his older brother had always been evil, as when they had been lynched by the mob as children. Doflamingo refused to die and swore revenge on the commoners. He then revealed that the carriers of D were rumored to be the natural enemies of God, and so did not want Law to become like Doflamingo. Law rejected this as he wanted to kill people like Doflamingo did, and he ran off to reveal Corazon's secret. However, as Corazon walked to the ship while the crew prepared to set sail, Law revealed that he kept his secret in order to repay him for not telling Doflamingo about getting attacked. As the crew was being pursued by Marines, Corazon took Law and departed to find a cure for his illness. Law did not want to leave, and Corazon contacted Sengoku to report on Doflamingo as an undercover Marine commander. After their call was finished, the undercover Donquixote pirate and first Corazon, Virgo, came into Sengoku's office to request to be transferred to GA. Corazon was confident that they would get Law cured at a hospital, but at each one they went to, the doctors refused to go near Law and called the government to get him, causing Corazon to attack all of them as Law fell into despair. 6 months passed with no luck, and one night as Law slept, Corazon wept over his condition, and Law overheard this, causing him to gain a respect for Corazon. The next morning, Doflamingo called Corazon, revealing that he had found out about a pirate crew selling the Ope Ope no mead to the world government, and telling his brother-in-law to come back to the crew so they could get the fruit and heal Law with it. After the call, Corazon revealed that he would get the fruit for Law behind the crew's backs before abandoning them, as he did not think he could rejoin the crew without Doflamingo finding out the truth about him. Meanwhile, Doflamingo was growing suspicious that the Marines had not found his crew during the time that Corazon had been gone. Corazon contacted Sengoku, and they arranged a plan to trap the Donquixote pirates on Swallow Island during the planned exchange 3 weeks from now. To Corazon's horror, however, Law grew very weak as his time was almost up. Corazon and Law sailed to Minion Island, where the keepers of the Ope Ope no Mai, the Barrel's pirates, were hiding out. Corazon left Law in the town as he raided the pirates' hideout, attacking them without making a sound and stealing the fruit. However, he tripped and fell as he ran outside and landed in front of some of the pirates, who realized that he had stolen the fruit. Corazon defeated them, but sustained several gunshot wounds in the process. He returned to Law and fed him the fruit, but was too weak to go any further. He asked Law to look for a marine spy ship and give them a letter, which he claimed would help protect Dressrosa. Law found Virgo near the ship and gave him the letter, but then asked him to come and help Corazon. When Virgo came to Corazon, the two recognized each other in shock, and Virgo realized Corazon's treachery as he beat him and Law up. He then contacted Doflamingo to reveal the truth about Corazon, and Corazon managed to escape with Law, but Doflamingo trapped them by creating a birdcage around Minion Island. Corazon remembered when Doflamingo killed their father when they were children for taking them out of Mary Jawai's, and he hid Law in a treasure chest, assuring that he himself would not be killed by Doflamingo as he silenced Law. The Donquixote pirates massacred the Barrel's pirates as they searched for Corazon, and after finding him, they beat him up before Doflamingo confronted him. Corazon pulled a gun on Doflamingo, saying he could not let Law follow in his brother's footsteps. Corazon could not pull the trigger, but Doflamingo did, and he believed Law had been taken in by the Marines. This allowed Law to escape, and Corazon stayed alive just long enough to keep Law's cries from being heard, but then succumbed to his wounds. In the present, Law revealed that he was a D to Doflamingo as they fought, which shocked the Warlord. He then used his devil fruit to pierce through Doflamingo, saying that unlike Corazon, he would pull the trigger. Law went on the offensive, but Doflamingo quickly stopped his attacks, saying that Law was foolish to confront him alone, and that everything he and Corazon aimed for would be for naught. He then sliced Law's right arm off and prepared to shoot him, but was interrupted as Luffy sent his string clone through the floor from below, defeating it. Bellamy was still under Doflamingo's control, and Doflamingo decided to free him. Luffy thought their fight was over, but as he remembered the time, he began sailing under the Donquixote pirates' flag out of admiration for them. Bellamy used Spring Hopper to fight Luffy, knowing that Doflamingo had rejected him, but still being too proud to go against the man he admired. Luffy told him to stop, but Bellamy did not as he punched Luffy with a hockey-clad fist, injuring him. Meanwhile, Zoro continued fighting Pica when he ran into some Donquixote soldiers. However, Orlumbus arrived and defeated them by bowling one into the others, and Zoro raced toward Pica as he inhabited the entire plateau and attacked. The gladiators and the Donquixote officers were caught up in the attacks, and as this happened, Machvis was greatly overwhelming Hedruden by pounding him with his increased weight. However, as Machvis prepared to finish him off, Hedruden countered him with his fist. Despite Machvis's weight causing the bones in his arm to break, Hedruden overcame his force and sent him flying upward into the birdcage, defeating him. The latter grew flustered as she interpreted Sao's statements to be flirtatious. Meanwhile, as he was being overwhelmed by Lyoji, Chinja overheard the statements and got mad at Sai for entertaining Baby's advances, saying he was arranged to marry Yuholisha of the Nihon Navy. Sai grew frustrated and jokingly told Baby to die, and she prepared to commit suicide, as her childhood abandonment had left her with a desire to be useful to people. An appalled Sai tried to stop her, and Chinja got annoyed at Sai trying to keep an enemy alive as he attacked both of them. Sai responded by kicking Chinjao's drill head and bending it sideways, and an impressed Chinjao made him the next Don of the Happo Navy. Right then, however, Laoji arrived and defeated Shinjo, and as the Donko co-officer charged towards Sai, the new Don stated that if he won, he would marry Baby and free her from the Donquixote pirates' manipulation. He then used Hashokan to kick Laoji in the head and send him flying far away into the plateau wall, defeating him. He then attended to his grandfather. When Pica came to the plateau and attacked, Eiichiro was able to land a hit on Dellinger but was soon overpowered. On the third level, Bartolomeo shielded himself and Cavendish as Gladius made the ground rupture, and Robin went up to the flower field. Bartolomeo protected her from Gladius's attacks before he and Cavendish both went on the offensive. And as this happened, Gladius saw Dellinger and told him to help. However, Eiichiro pressed his attack on Dellinger, and the fighting fish-fishman hybrid had to finish off his opponent by growing a set of fangs and biting into him. Dellinger then went to level 3, but things had quickly changed as Cavendish had become Hakuba, and before he could react, Dellinger was swiftly struck down. Bartolomeo and Gladius were left in shock, but Hakuba then turned his attention to Robin. She managed to hold him back, and Cavendish struggled to regain control of his body. But Gladius then prepared to blow up the wall they were climbing on. Bartolomeo went to attack him, but Gladius swelled himself up as well, threatening to pierce everyone with poison needles if Bartolomeo attacked. With the plateau wall threatening Robin, Bartolomeo created a barrier around himself and Gladius, attacking the officer as he took the full force of Gladius' explosion. However, as Gladius recovered, he revealed that Bartolomeo had missed his throat and prepared to blow up Robin and Cavendish. With no time left, Cavendish briefly gave control to Hakuba, allowing him to carry Robin up the wall with sheer speed right before Gladius blew it up, and he fell asleep as Robin reached the flower field. Gladius noticed that they had escaped, and as he was distracted, Bartolomeo hit him with a barrier-enforced punch, defeating him. Some Donquixote soldiers then came to take Gladius away, and Viola reported to Leo that she had seen Giola using Mancherry to heal the fallen Donquixote pirates, including the officers on the first floor of the palace. Leo and Kabu were urged to hurry, and Giola discovered that she could use Mancherry's Chiu-Chiu, my powers to heal her fallen comrades by just forcing her tears to land on them. Leo and Kabu then came in right as Mancherry's tears were beaten out of her. Kabu moved the Donquixote pirates out of the tears path, and Leo stitched them and Giola together, pulling them all onto her and defeating her. He rescued Mancherry and, on her request, carried her out of the palace. Giola tried to report this to Doflamingo, as Mancherry was also their contingency to repair the Smile Factory, but was unable to do so. Outside the Smile Factory, Frankie and Senior Pink took each other's attacks without dodging because of their manly spirit, and Senior Pink decided to perform his ultimate attack on Frankie, offering to concede if Frankie got up after it. He grabbed Frankie and swam up a tall tower, and he mentioned his wife Russian and son Gimlet as he suplexed Frankie into the ground far below. Frankie got up after this attack, and Senior Pink conceded as Frankie pummeled him. As he fell defeated, he remembered meeting Russian. Russian said she hated pirates, and Pink had claimed to be a banker. They got married and had Gimlet, but when Pink was voyaging with his crew, Gimlet died of a fever and Russian discovered his lie. She left him, but was caught in a landslide and put in a vegetative state. Senior Pink found that he could make Russian smile by wearing Gimlet's bonnet and pacifier, and so adopted this style of dress. In the present, Frankie hoped Pink could tell him about Russian someday in the future, and he sent the Tontatas charging into the factory as he collapsed from his wounds. Diamant caused the entire field to wave like a flag, making it hard for Kairos to stand. The executive then aimed his attacks for Rebecca, and she offered to assist her father, but Kairos forbade it as he promised to protect her. Diamante managed to get his sword around Kairos, but his strike was blocked by Robin, who gave Kairos the opportunity to focus entirely on Diamante. Diamante unleashed attacks called Half Moon Glaive that tore through a large distance, and Kairos began to get tired. Diamante then prepared to finish the fight as he shot spiked balls into the air, and Robin protected herself and Rebecca with a flower umbrella while Kairos batted away all the balls with his sword. A shocked Diamante resorted to shooting Kairos in the leg, causing him to be hit by the balls. An enraged Rebecca tried to attack Diamante, but Kairos got up, saying that she should preserve her clean hands as he charged at Diamante despite his injuries. The two fought ferociously, and Diamante tried to defeat Kairos with another half-moon glaive, but Kairos countered it and broke through Diamante's sword as he cut him. As he fell backward, Diamante hit his head on Scarlet's gravestone, knocking him unconscious. Rebecca wanted to treat Kairos' wounds, but the two of them first sat in front of Scarlet's grave. Elisabello went up to Zoro as the latter fought Pica, offering the help of his king punch. Zoro had no use for it at the moment, but told him to save it up. On the king's plateau, as Viola revealed that most of the Donquixote pirates had been taken down, Doldo prepared to go down to assist the citizens in peril, which Fujitora was currently doing. Meanwhile, Pica went up to the flower field to confront Kairos, and he asked the gladiator about his thoughts on King Riku. Kairos replied that everyone on Dressrosa wanted him to return to the throne once Doflamingo was taken down, and Pica went down to attack the injured gladiators. As Zoro went after him, Pica told him that he was going to assert Doflamingo's rule by killing Doldo and everyone on the king's plateau. He then re-inhabited his giant golem and walked to the king's plateau. And Zoro had to quickly think of a plan to catch up to him as cannon fire failed to harm the stone man. Zoro decided to fly through the air and cut Pica up, and he ran to Elisabello to tell him to withhold his king punch for now. He then came to Orlumbus and asked him to throw him toward Pica like the admiral had done earlier. Pica arrived at the king's plateau, and Doldo was prepared to take his attack. Pica then brought his massive hand down on the plateau. Orlumbus then threw Zoro at Pica, and Zoro successfully bisected Pica at the waist. Taking note of which piece of stone Pica inhabited, Zoro continued cutting his body up until Pica was forced to come out. Pica cladded his entire body in haki and leaped at Zoro, but Zoro proved his haki to be stronger as he cut Pica with Sanzen Sakai, defeating him. The remains of Pica's stone body fell toward the king's plateau, but they were blown away by Elisabello's king punch and placed out of harm's way by Fujitora. Zoro grabbed onto the king's plateau, satisfied as he then remembered what Mihawk had told him about using haki during his training. He went up to praise from Usopp and the people around him, but told them not to be happy until the cage fell, and Doldo led the citizens down to help those in the streets. Meanwhile, the dwarves successfully destroyed the Smile Factory, and Treble was confident that Mancherry could help restore it, unaware that she, Leo, and Kabu were with Kairos, Rebecca, and Robin on the flower field. Elsewhere, Koala requested assistance from Sabo, saying that Luffy's life was possibly in danger. On top of the palace, Doflamingo and Treble brutally overwhelmed Law, but Law remained defiant until Doflamingo tried to finish him off by shooting him. Down below, Bellamy continued to stand by Doflamingo and attack Luffy. Luffy finally ended the fight by punching Bellamy into the ground, and Bellamy silently thanked him for allowing him to maintain his convictions as Luffy went up to the palace roof. Luffy attacked Doflamingo, but after a brief fight, he encountered the defeated Law. Doflamingo then said that it was time to end this game as he started shrinking the birdcage. As the cage closed, it cut apart everything it touched and forced everyone to run away, and Doflamingo said it would converge on everyone in about an hour. Law then spoke secretly to Luffy, having created a giant room around the palace before Doflamingo shot at him and switched places with a Donquixote servant below. Law told Luffy the plan, and as Luffy charged toward Doflamingo, Law switched places with him and hit Doflamingo with an attack that ruptured his internal organs. Luffy kept Doflamingo and Treble from retaliating, and Law tried to finish off Doflamingo. Despite the fatal injuries he received, however, Doflamingo mended his injured organs with strings and rose up. With Law having collapsed, Doflamingo prepared to finish him off again, but was stopped by Luffy. Luffy began fighting Doflamingo again, and as they clashed, their Hoshoku haki created a black lightning-like effect. Treble remembered when he, Vergo, Diamante, and Pica swore their allegiance to Doflamingo as children after discovering that he had Hoshoku haki, and they treated him like the king that they believed those with the ability were, with Treble giving Doflamingo his devil fruit and gun. After a ferocious fight, Treble managed to catch Luffy in his mucus, and Luffy could not escape. Treble then trapped Law and left him for Doflamingo to finish off, telling Law that the executives and Doflamingo had created a strong family. Law retorted that this was a lie, and Treble attacked him in a fit of rage, allowing Law to use his devil fruit powers to spin his sword and vertically cut Treble. The attack caused all the mucus to fall off Treble's body, and in a desperate fit, he lit up the mucus to create a massive explosion. Luffy pulled Law away from the explosion and threw him down to Robin's group on the flower field. While Luffy kept Doflamingo occupied, he told Cavendish to get Law to safety, and Leo looked into stitching Law's arm back on. However, Law refused to leave, saying it was his responsibility to die if Luffy got killed in the fight that he had started. Cavendish stayed with him, and Robin, Kairos, Rebecca, Leo, Kaboo, and Mancherry went down to level on Bartolomeo's staircase after the dwarves had fixed Law's arm. On top of the palace, Luffy continued fighting Doflamingo, but found that his gear attacks were too weak and his gear 3 attacks were too slow. Doflamingo mocked Luffy, saying he was the cause for Dressrosa's misery, but Luffy retorted that Doflamingo had been harming his friends long before that as he activated Gear 4. Luffy grew round and constantly bounced in his new form, and Doflamingo did not take it seriously until Luffy hit him all the way into the town below. Doflamingo initially struggled to keep up with Luffy's speed and strength, getting sent flying through buildings and not being able to dodge. However, he eventually managed to counter Luffy by turning buildings into string with his awakened devil fruit powers and blocking the Straw Hat's attacks. During this time, Burgess went to the palace roof with Koala on his tail, and she wondered what he wanted with Luffy. Time passed, and the birdcage grew considerably smaller, with the sick and weak being greatly threatened by it. King Riku then broadcasted himself to the citizens, telling them that the Donquixote pirates were almost vanquished and encouraging them to keep going while Luffy fought Doflamingo. So this gave the citizens strength and the will to help the weak, and up in the air, Luffy managed to break through Doflamingo's strings as he hit the Warlord of the Sea into the palace plateau wall. Doflamingo seemed defeated, but Luffy realized that he was still conscious due to the birdcage remaining up. He went to deal a final blow, but Gear 4 expired before he could, leaving him weak and barely able to move. Burgess then leaped down to the streets, intent on killing Luffy and gaining his devil fruit power. Doflamingo then moved to take down the powerless Luffy as well. However, Luffy was approached by Gats, the announcer of the court at Coliseum. He revealed to Gats that he needed 10 minutes to regain his haki, and he could finish off Doflamingo in one blow after that. Gats then called in the Coliseum gladiators, who had initially gone after Luffy and his comrades for Doflamingo's bounties, and they went to confront Doflamingo while Gats carried Luffy away. They were attacked by Burgess, but the Blackbeard pirate was intercepted by Sabo. Sabo revealed his new devil fruit powers to Burgess and Luffy, and Burgess attacked, but Sabo sent him flying. However, Gats saw Doflamingo easily take down the gladiators, and the warlord sped up the birdcage so it'd kill everyone before Luffy recovered. Law then went into the streets and told Gats to leave Luffy with him for the rest of his recovery period. Meanwhile, Zoro took Kinemon and Kianjiro to go stop the birdcage. As he and the dwarves exited the destroyed Smile Factory, Frankie found out what they were doing and got the idea to use the factory to push against the birdcage since the structure was made of sea stone. Meanwhile, Mancherry healed the gladiators on the palace plateau with dandelions made from her tears before flying on Kaboo and scattering the dandelions all across Dressrosa, although they only healed people temporarily. The dandelions allowed the injured citizens to run from the birdcage, and they went to the palace plateau for safety. The remaining lower-ranking Donquixote pirates had taken over the plateau and blocked their access, but they were beaten away by Kairos and the gladiators. Ase then told the citizens they could still fight to come with him, and they went to the birdcage to slow it down. Fujitora and the Marines then came to help as well, and for a brief moment they managed to stop the birdcage completely. Meanwhile, Rebecca had run off to confront Doflamingo, only to discover that Viola had gotten to him first. Doflamingo easily countered Viola's attacks before immobilizing her, and he then took control of Rebecca as he forced her to charge at her aunt and kill her. As the people of Dressrosa continued slowing the birdcage, Gats announced to them that Luffy would return soon and defeat Doflamingo in one blow. He led them in a countdown, and although Doflamingo attacked him before it was done, and Mancherry's dandelions began to wear off, the crowd cheered as Luffy's recovery period ended. Right before Rebecca was about to kill Viola, Law switched Luffy and Viola, and Luffy broke Rebecca's blade with his haki as he confronted Doflamingo again. Doflamingo initially overpowered Luffy with awakened attacks and managed to take control of the Straw Hat. However, as the birdcage began cutting into the King's Plateau, Luffy activated Gear 4 and broke the strings on him as he flew into the air. Luffy blew into his arm, and Doflamingo put up both a defense and attack, but it was not enough as Luffy broke through his strings with Gomu Gomu no King Kong gun and hit the Warlord of the Sea, sending him falling into the ground with a force so great that it ripped the ground asunder and propelled him all the way to the underground port, breaking his sunglasses. Luffy fell unconscious, and Law brought him back down to his side. The birdcage then came down, and Gats proclaimed Luffy as the winner against Doflamingo as the people of Dressrosa rejoiced and Cairo shed tears for the first time in 10 years. Sabo defeated Burgess after the latter unsuccessfully taunted him about Ace, and the other revolutionaries successfully acquired Doflamingo's weapons from the underground port before the Marines came in. The Marines arrested the defeated Donquixote pirates, and on Fujitora's orders, Maynard broadcasted to the neighboring islands what had happened to Dressrosa, which resulted in the news quickly spreading across the world. Meanwhile, the citizens pleaded for Doldo to return as their king despite his protests, and Fujitora approached him, offering his apologies for what the world government did to Dressrosa as he and the Marines knelt before the returning king. Doldo gave the citizens a place to stay in the palace, and elsewhere, Kairos disbanded the Tontatata rebel army. Meanwhile, on Mary Gioi's, Sakazuki went before the 5 elders to question why they had allowed Doflamingo to go behind the Marines' back. But they were not concerned about what he felt about Doflamingo. Right then, the 6 of them heard the news about Doflamingo's defeat, and the members of the worst generation found out as well. Kid and his allies were glad that Luffy and Law's alliance was going after Kaido and not their target, Shanks. On a certain island, X-Drake was with Kaido's crew when they received the news, and one of Kaido's subordinates tried to tell their captain about it. Sakazuki got angry about the news getting out and berated Fujitora for it. Fujitora stood by his decision, having been motivated to expose the truth by Smoker recounting when the world government covered up the truth about Arabasta's liberation. Sakazuki threatened to bar Fujitora from all marine bases unless he captured Luffy and Law, and Fujitora agreed to do this. However, he decided to only go after them if his die did not land on a 1. Straw Hats, Law, and Bellamy went to stay at Cairo's house as night fell, and Sabo arrived while Luffy was sleeping. He recounted his past to Zoro, Robin, and Frankie, revealing that he had survived after setting sail from Dawn Island and having his ship blown up by a world noble. Dragon had rescued him, and he awoke with no memories of his past. He asked to join the Revolutionary Army, and it was only 2 years ago when he heard the news about Ace's death that he regained his memories. He despaired over Ace, and so when he reunited with Luffy in the court at Coliseum, he thanked his brother for staying alive. Sabo then departed from the house, giving the Straw Hats a Viver card he made for Luffy after taking a corner of it for himself. He headed toward the revolutionary's ship on a flock of crows. Meanwhile, as the other people in Dressrosa rested in the palace, Doldo spoke to Rebecca, telling her that once he became king again, she would become the crown princess. The next day, Sanji's group on the Sunny had reached a mysterious island. As Sanji and Chopper forced Caesar to help an unknown group of people, Nami, Brook, and Momonosuke were chasing a girl. They were confronted by 2 pirates who were also looking for the girl, but they were suddenly interrupted as an eruption of water flooded the area. While Nami saved Brook and Momonosuke, the male pirate Sheepshed attacked them, but Brook and Sanji managed to defeat him. With Sheepshed defeated, the other pirates decided to leave the island and abandon their mission of finding the samurai. The Straw Hats continued looking for the girl, who was hiding when Chopper suddenly called them to come to him. Meanwhile, Kaido came up to the Sky Island Balin terminal, looking for a place to die. He jumped and fell 1A1 double in Bubbiesers onto the Kid Pirate's base and emerged without receiving an injury. In his past, he had survived numerous execution and suicide attempts, and so had made attempting suicide his hobby. Kaido confronted Kid, Apu, and Hawkins, and he yelled out to Doflamingo, saying he was ready to start the biggest war in history to bring down a world he considered mundane. 3 days later, Sengoku and Tsuru arrived in Dressrosa and discovered that Fujitora had still not gone after the Straw Hats and Law after landing on a 1 every day. Mancheri then came up to the Marine encampment and offered to draw blood from the Marines to heal citizens. The Marines complied, unaware that the dwarves were weakening them. Fujitora offered Tsuru the chance to roll the die, and it did not land on a 1, causing him to send the Marines after the criminals in Dressrosa. In Kairos' house, Kairos revealed that he had spread a rumor that Rebecca's father was a faraway prince in order to disassociate her from him, and told her about it via letter, which Luffy did not like. Bartolomeo then came in, revealing that the Marines were on the move. Straw Hats' allies were lying in wait to help, and Kairos had commissioned the dwarves to make preparations as well. Bartolomeo led the Straw Hats, Law, and Bellamy out of Kairos' house to the eastern port as the Marines came after them, but Luffy separated from them to go to Rebecca. Doldo prepared to retake the throne, and Rebecca was attended to as she got ready for her coronation. Although she wanted to see Luffy again, Luffy made it to the window of her room, where he asked her if she was fine with what Kairos had done. She replied that she was not and requested Viola to succeed her as the crown princess before Luffy broke her out of the palace. The citizens of Dressrosa were outraged at what they believed to be a kidnapping and chased after Luffy and Rebecca. The Marines shot at Luffy, but collapsed due to Mancherry drawing their blood. Luffy dropped Rebecca off at Kairos' house, where she confronted him as he was about to leave the island. Kairos stated that she should not live with him because of the crimes he had committed. But Rebecca replied that she did not care as she embraced her father, wanting to live together with him. Back in the palace, Viola told Doldo about Rebecca's decision. Meanwhile, the gladiators took out the Marines in the Straw Hat's way, allowing them to go to the eastern port, and the Tontatas had stolen many of the Marines' weapons, while Leo had stitched together their battleships and Mancherry had weakened all the blood donors. However, Law disappeared, and Fujitora arrived to confront the criminals right as Luffy was returning from his detour. Law had gone to talk with Sengoku, revealing that he was the boy that Corazon saved. Sengoku reminisced about Corazon's actions, and Law questioned him about the importance of the D in his name, but Sengoku brushed it off. Deciding not to arrest Law, Sengoku told the pirate to live free like Corazon had wished. Meanwhile, Fujitora lifted up a large amount of rubble to crush his opponents, and as Law and Luffy returned to their comrades, Luffy refused to run away from Fujitora and punched him instead. The two began fighting, with Fujitora being annoyed and amused by Luffy telegraphing his attacks. He slammed Luffy into the cliffs around the shore, and Heijuden grabbed Luffy as the Straw Hats and their allies ran toward the dock. They were still threatened by Fujitora's rubble, but before he could crush them, a mob of Dressrosa citizens ran past him, claiming to want to apprehend Luffy themselves for what happened to Rebecca. In reality, they knew the truth about Rebecca and wanted to protect the Straw Hats from Fujitora, and he withheld his attack. The gladiators took the Straw Hats and Law to Orlumbus' ship, the Yanta Maraya, and the 7 groups among them, the Beautiful Pirates, Bardo Club, Hapo Navy, XX Gym Martial Arts, Alliance, Tonta Corps, New Giant Warrior Pirates, and Yanta Maria Grand Fleet, all pledged to become subordinate to the Straw Hats and serve them. Luffy rejected their offer, as he wanted to sail freely on the seas without having to command anyone. In response to this, the crews made the decision to still serve Luffy, but only when he needed them to, and consumed Sake Cups to form the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. They came under attack by a pirate alliance who had come to take revenge on Luffy for taking down Doflamingo, but were saved when Fujitora dropped the rubble on the enemy pirates. They then feasted to celebrate the fleet's formation as they departed from Dressrosa. Dressrosa returned to peace under King Riku's rule, and a new era began as the citizens began coexisting with the Tontata tribe. CP came to Dressrosa, among them being Rob Lucci and Spandam, only to find the revolutionaries gone with Doflamingo's weapons. Elsewhere, the Marines set sail for Impel Down, and Fujitora stated that he would take a trip, while he was currently barred from entering Marine bases. Below deck, Doflamingo talked to Saru, saying that his downfall would plunge the world into chaos as various groups would aim for the top and destabilize the current system of power. But she paid no mind to his words. Behind the Marine fleet, a pirate ship approached, and its captain, Jack, was intent on going to rescue Doflamingo despite the powerful Marines in the fleet. After the feast, Luffy had given pieces of his Vivir card to the Grand Fleet members, as well as Bellamy. The Straw Hats and Law sailed to Zoo on the Bardo Club ship, the Going Luffy Senpai, and they discovered that they had all received bounty increases. As they examined their new wanted posters, they noticed with surprise that Sanji was now one and only alive